ignorant some of these people sound in the comment section, but at the end of the day, they're trying to disguise their ignorance with their bigotry and their subliminal racism. Yes, and I'm saying that race is coming down to this. Um, I can't believe people are saying that Steve Fulton making excuses. No, that's his trainer, and his trainer has every right to look out for the safety of his fighter. Even though Steve Fulton said, "Hey man, don't say nothing. I can beat him regardless." Well, at the end of the day, Steve Fulton has to understand. Don't be so desperate to go fight for just money. At the same time, you want it to be an even playing field, and you want to have a fair opportunity to win. And he basically broke down uh, what he meant by stacking his gloves. Now, for people that try to act like the commission catches everything, if that's the case, how come they wasn't able to catch Margarito, and it took Nassim Richardson to catch Margarito? Now, for people that think that I'm attacking any new because he's Japanese American, no, that isn't the case. But for y'all that are attacking and complaining and bitching about Steve Fulton team having a legitimate issue, let me run down history. First of all, I did videos about Felix Trinidad, who was not only accused of stacking his gloves, but doing a whole bunch of different tactics like dipping his gloves in water to harden up the tape, to make his gloves feel like basically like bricks. And keep in mind, um, Fernando Vargas complained about that. And keep in mind, once again, Nassim Richardson and Bernard Hopkins caught on to that. And of course, Trinidad was talking about, oh, well, I'm not going to fight if I have to rewrap my hands and all that kind of stuff. But they made him rewrap his hands. So Felix Trinidad is Puerto Rican, but he has melanin in him. So for the most part, if he was from the States and he was inclined and adapted to American culture, and if he was Americanized, he would be considered black. Okay. Then keep in mind, Virgil Hunter caught Miguel Kessler in Oakland, basically trying to stack his gloves. So let's not try to pretend that this is something that's out of the ordinary. The commission doesn't catch everything. And keep in mind, there was issues about Tyson Fury's reps and Tyson Fury tampering with gloves and stuff. This happens on a regular basis, but yet you have people sitting up here trying to play stupid. And keep in mind, Manny Pacquiao was accused of stacking his gloves by a couple of fighters. And then Freddie Roach, who trained Manny Pacquiao, outed Oscar De La Hoya, accusing Oscar De La Hoya of stacking his gloves. Keep in mind the original broadcast of Manny Pacquiao and Oscar De La Hoya. You can find it on YouTube, the original, I think it was a 3-hour broadcast, where Freddie Roach said that Oscar De La Hoya stacked his gloves his whole career. But yet, y'all accusing Steve Fulton of being, paranoid and being scared. That man ain't scared. It's a safety issue. But at the end of the day, I'm just going to keep it a buck. Most of you non-blacks in the States are rooting for Innu. So please save to talk about patriotism and all that kind of stuff. The only ism that's involved in this fight is racism. So that don't talk that patriotism stuff to me, because we all know most of y'all, with the exception of primarily people in the black community, they may be some that's non-black rooting for Fulton, but most of y'all, including you Hispanics and particularly Mexicans, are rooting probably for Innu. Yeah, I said it. Yeah, I said it. Because it need to be truthful and factual here. I'm coming with facts. These are just some of the fighters that's been accused of stacking their gloves. But you guys, you're just attacking them because you know. So for y'all to think that I'm, attacking Innu because he's Japanese or he's not black, no, that's not the case. I just want a fair fight. and a fight that's on the up and up. I'm gonna say this again. If you one of these people that have an issue with me talking about race and race issues, then I'm not the channel for you. I'm not gonna water down my channel because you have an issue with me talking about certain things pertaining to race. I'm a black man. I'm going to call out the racial injustice and racial indifferences and the racial double standards that go on, not only just in sports, but in everyday life. Steve Fulton's team said they had the proof. Keep in mind, they are fighting in Japan. And it was looked as a rock star out there, a super celebrity. So, of course, he's going to be inclined and be comfortable with having things his way. I think they're shocked at the fact that they got challenged and that Steve Fulton's team stood up to them. And I think that's why they so pissed off. But see, I'm the guy here to say it because, like I said, I'm not worried about having a certain amount of subs, and I'm not worried about, well, you know what, I like you because, you keep it fair. I am keeping it fair. I brought up every fighter that's been accused of stacking their gloves, and they are of all nationalities. And that's just real talk. I went across the rainbow of color, not the other rainbow. Don't get it confused. But when I first saw the story, I already knew what to expect when I went to oh, they're already making excuses. How are they making excuses? How are they making excuses? When the man basically broke down the issue that they had with any news gloves. I've done several videos about glove stacking. The people don't want to hear the truth about the commission. Listen, let me explain something. The commission is people. They can turn a blind eye to stuff, and sometimes they don't know what to look for as well. Like I said before, how did Margarito get to fight Trinidad with that stuff in his gloves? And like I said, if it wasn't for Team Mosley, he would have got away with that versus Sugar Shane Mosley. And like I said, Trinidad was accused of doing this with several fighters. William Jaffe, Fernando Vargas, Bernard Hopkins was the one that caught him. William Jaffe is black. Fernando Vargas is Mexican. Then when the Margarito thing happened, Miguel Cotto said his fist felt like bricks. Said it felt like he was getting hit with bricks. And then Miguel Cotto destroyed him in the rematch because they carefully was watching his gloves and watching his hand wraps. So don't sit up here and be naive and try to play these games and act like, it's impossible. It's impossible to stack your gloves. Like I said, I watched that fight with Miguel Kessler. That was in Oakland, California. Virgil Hunter was the one that caught him, saying, hey, you got too much, Gus. You got too much, because a lot of times when you, depending on how you apply the Gus tape and the white tape itself, you could make yourself an extra set of knuckles. It's kind of like doubling up on your knuckles. It's like having two knuckles. So when you get hit, it's like double impact. But what do I know? What do I know? Keep in mind, I done been to these gyms. I go to these gyms. I used to go to these gyms, but I'm probably finna stop doing this stuff because, like I said before, yeah, I do have a bad taste in my mouth from what the PBC did to me. So, like I said, I'm not ever going to ask to cover a PBC fight ever again. Ever. I'm not ever filling out credentials for they fights. But yeah, I've been talking about this for a while. I know about hand wraps and all that kind of stuff. And why wouldn't any new try to have an advantage? when he's allowed to get away with that because for the most part he fights in Japan. So their commission are not going to abide by the same rules that other commissions may abide by. He's going to be allowed to do whatever he wants for the most part. And keep in mind, he got into it with no Nito Donaire because basically he tried to come out with some gloves that was unsealed. And they was like, why are these gloves not sealed? Like you might have been able to do something with these gloves. And what they mean by unsealed, the gloves are not supposed to be unsealed until they put on the table and display for the other fighters to look at them. Kind of like what happened with Floyd and Marcos Maidana. Because you bring these gloves out and you just like say, okay, well, let me feel these gloves. Oh, these gloves don't have this in them. They don't have that. When Floyd said, hey man, these gloves don't have no lining in the thumb. So basically you might try to thumb me. But when people try to explain this to you dummies, you guys don't want to hear certain things because you already have your mind made up. You're going to say, oh, Steve Fulton's just coming up with an excuse. Just be man and woman enough just to admit that you rooting for the Japanese dude. And that you don't care about patriotism and all that kind of stuff. About, you know what I'm saying? You only care about patriotism is if the fighter is white. And then again, that ain't true neither. Because when Andre Ward fought Sergey Kovalov, and Andre Ward is an Olympic gold medalist, a lot of y'all was rooting for Sergey Kovalov. Just like a lot of y'all was rooting for Lomachenko. And I don't want to hear this stuff about, well, you know, you don't like Devin Haney because of what he said about he not going to lose to a white boy. And I keep saying, well, for you non-blacks, what do you care for? I can understand if you white, you may be feeling a little salty, but what do you care for? Y'all don't care when people say stuff about black people. Y'all sit up there and tell us to quit crying. People who are, you know what I'm saying? When some white dude say something disrespectful towards us, directed towards us, y'all tell us we too emotional, we too sensitive, and we need to be quiet. Oh, okay, cool. And we gonna do the same to y'all. Well, I've been doing the same. Quit crying. Real talk about anything. So I'm just saying. They were rooting for Lomachenko versus Devin Haney. So quit crying about Devin Haney saying he'll never lose to a white boy. And he hasn't so far because he beat Lomachenko. And like I said before, why was some of you non-black so emotionally invested in that? What did it have to do with y'all? Because at the end of the day, it's basically anybody but the brother with y'all. A lot of y'all don't really like black people. I mean, you will steal from black people and copy off of black people and duplicate stuff from black people, but that doesn't mean you really like them. I've been doing this. I've been doing this for a while. You damn right. I'm gonna get up here and show my support for Steve Fulton and his team if I feel like they have an unfair disadvantage against them, if somebody gonna try to attempt to go in there and try to cheat against them. And am I doing this because Steve Fulton is black like me? You damn right. You damn right. I'm black before I'm anything else. And hell yeah, I don't want to see him get screwed out of a fight, and I don't want to see him get beat up or seriously hurt. You guys have to understand people's lives is on the line. That dude, if he got stacked gloves, he could hit Steve Fulton and he could do serious damage to him. He could possibly take his life. These dudes' life is on the line when they fight. It's highly unlikely they could be, killed in the ring, but it could happen. It has happened. And eventually it'll happen again. That's the risk you take. So you want to be able to have you want to have everything on an even keel. You want to have it as fair as possible. And like I said, I believe in his team. If his team say that something is strange with those raps, then it need to be addressed. I think that any new team just just mad because they pointed it out. They thought they was just gonna be able to go in there and fight with those particular hand wraps and thought nobody wasn't gonna say nothing. And that's where they were mistaken. So there you have it. So this ain't a situation where I'm accusing him of, you know, I'm not accusing him because he's Japanese. I'm just reporting what Steve Fulton's team is accusing him of. But like I said before, I just gave you several examples of other non-black and and Afro Latino, if that's what you want to consider, Felix Trinidad, of being accused of, screwing around with their hand wraps and gloves and all that kind of stuff. So how can you say that somebody picking on any new? And I just was listening to them dummies talk about, oh, they already coming up with an excuse. How's it an excuse if somebody actually doing something? Wouldn't it be better if they addressed this situation with the gloves and then any new won? Then there's no excuses. He won fair and square. And if he still happens to win, then the problem is resolved. Then he was just a better fighter. Right? Right? So, the cap, man. Anyway, I'm out.